The Nuggets beat the Wolves, take a 3-2 series lead. They won that game 112-97. Finally, somebody wins on their home floor. But Joker was absolutely unbelievable. Gave a masterclass, 40 points, 13 assists. He was 3 rebounds from a triple-double. Bill, he picked up his MVP award, physically got it before tip-off, and then he was like, I'm going to show you why I just won 3 of these in 4 years.
I think did you throw in no turnovers? I mean, the guy didn't have a single turnover in that game. I mean, this is why, look, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe the Timberwolves will make a series of it. Anything can happen to Game 7. Who knows what happens if the Denver advances to the next round or the finals? I don't want to overreact, but this is why he's the best player on earth. And the idea that it changed and Denver had changed because they went in an 0-2 hole. No, man, this guy is uniquely, maybe historically special. I don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say about the guy anymore. It's amazing.
Coming out of the half, they talked to Mike Inori, who's helping Chris Finch while Chris Finch is convalescing. And they were like, hey, Micah, what was your strategy there? And he's like, well, we're trying to make him more of a facilitator than a scorer. and I was like, oh no, he had 13 assists. One of them in the third quarter, I believe, was this beautiful no look behind the back bounce pass to Aaron Gordon, who went in for the dunk, got fouled, didn't make it, but it was like an unbelievable pass. And so he has 13 assists. And then Joker's like, oh, you're trying to make me a facilitator. Well, now I'm going to also score 40 points. Like, there's no way that you can stop me. It's just, our producer Aaron brought this up. Like, we're headed, he's won 3 MVPs in 4 years. They look like they might be marching to another title now after, the Wolves were giving him problems in the first 2 games. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, the champs are back. Like, where do you think this potentially puts him in the all-time? I'm terrible at these all-time conversations, but I think it's a really interesting exercise about, like, he's getting up into that, like, KD, Steph convo.
It's crazy. So on the radio show, the producer, who I should say loves sports and watches them all the time and is great.
Very funny that you have a sports producer who doesn't watch sports.
He's coming around. They're out there. He asked me, right, that, the old soccer thing, start, bench, cut, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He asked me that between Kareem, Shaq, and Joker. And the thing that's surprised, so I've got Shaq and Kareem in my top 5 all time.
Okay.
And the thing that surprised me is I actually had to think about it. Now, I think I ended up cutting Nikola for now. But all right, so let me give you some stats that I wish I'd come up with these. Tom Haberstroh gave this to me today. But if you look at box score plus minus, 50 games minimum in the history of the NBA, playoffs, regular season, the whole thing, Jordan is 1, LeBron is 3, Joker is between them at 2. And then if you look at win share per minute in the playoffs, right? So similar goal, different metric. This is postseason only. It's the same order. It's MJ 1, it's Jokic 2, it's LeBron 3. So
wow.
I mean, it is pretty, and you can go further into the numbers. He's probably trending toward easily top 10 of all time. But I think he has to get what, John? 3 titles for that to be a reasonable conversation?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needs at least 1 more before we're talking about that. I mean, 3 MVPs in 4 years plus 2 championships. Now we're like, okay, this is a really interesting conversation. But me personally, one of the things I love most about basketball, I have a passing fetish. Like, guys who can pass are like, I just love good passing, and I love guys who make the smart plays, but also can make any kind of pass on the floor. He's without question the best passing big man of all time, but also now is in the conversation for one of the best passers, full stop. Like, just like, name anybody else, and like I would be like, well, Joker's got to be in that conversation.
It's LeBron-like, because LeBron is the leading scorer of all time, but it's not as if he does that without facilitating for other guys. Like the multiple ways that Joker affects things, and I know we're going to hit sort of him against Gobert, but it's not as if there are people that can't stop him. There are matchups that are problematic. He has been unstoppable, and the only thing that's really postponed his greatness in the playoffs is when Jamal Murray's been hurt. I mean, when he's had a fairly complete co-star or secondary star, I mean, to answer the question, I do love these conversations. Like, I think if he gets another ring, for me, you got to get rings. And I can remember people thought, Peyton Manning might pass Brady, because there was a shot with Denver where he's going to get a second ring and Brady had 3. And then history happened. And Brady, I don't even know if Brady has 7 versus the 2 that Manning has.
One of those.
I think that's right. But let's just say that they keep winning.
I think it's 7.
Isn't he at a point now where we're talking about him at the Kobe Duncan level already, which for me is, top 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range? and still going. Still, yeah, I think he could be a top 5 or 6 player of all time if he dominates the next 4 or 5 years the way that he has the last 3 or 4.
The way that he again, like last night was such a virtuoso performance because passing wise, facilitating, he was incredible. But then also, like when he needed to score, wanted to score, going right at Gobert, there was no answer for him. You are absolutely right. There is nobody on the planet who can stop him. His footwork is so amazing. I wanted to run this past. I know you're busy in Chicago and you got a lot of stuff going on. I wasn't sure like how online you were last night. Like, did you see any of? Okay.
So I did it like when I was out with some NBA people. So it's a different experience. I didn't have volume. So it's such a weird. So yeah, I saw the game and I got commentary from people that do it for a living, but it's different. It's a different thing when you're at a bar, watch it on the big screen with people.
Okay. So as I said, I had to work last night and I'm like taking notes and I'm Twitter's up and I'm watching the game. And like the online discourse was overwhelmingly that Rudy Gobert is a fake DPOY. He's terrible. Joker went right at him, owned him, all this stuff. Multiple things can be true at once here. What you said about nobody being able to stop Joker is absolutely true. But the idea that Rudy Gobert didn't give a full effort last night is kind of insane. Because I lead a full life, Bill, after HQ hits last night at like 10:30, I went back and watched all of the possessions where Joker had Gobert on him as the primary defender. And if I might step forward in defense of Gobert's defense, I want to see what you think about it.
Defend his honor.
So Joker went 8 for 9 with Gobert as the primary defender. No doubt about it, won that battle. Hands down, but it's possible to both get your ass kicked and also put up a good fight. And that's what happened with Gobert. I mean, Joker is so good at 4, 5, 6 different moves at like getting a guy to eventually go in one direction so he can go in the other. And on so many of the possessions, Gobert was with him through moves 2, 3, 4. I mean, there was one on the website formerly known as Twitter that I put up there where Joker is falling to his left and Gobert's fully extended, a 7-footer with his hand right in his face, and Joker makes a one-handed shot for an and one. And I'm like, what do you want this dude to do? I mean, as you mentioned, nobody can stop him. AD got his lunch handed to him last season and this season. Bam got his lunch handed to him in the postseason last year. I mean,
let me tie up.
What are we talking about here?
And I think the defensive Gobert is important because I think it connects the slander against Gobert with the legacy question. For me, at least, the true greats. Like if you're talking all-time great, whatever sort of tier that is, they're not just great, they devour other legacies and they warp the realities of other amazing players. Karl Malone does not remember the way that he should be. It's amazing because he couldn't get past Jordan. And I think Steph Curry, for me, is enhanced to a degree just because how many times he kept LeBron James from accomplishing things that LeBron otherwise might have. Joker has that. And the Gobert thing is it's not a Gobert problem. I mean, it's Gobert's problem. And he is going to get reviled a little bit. And people are going to throw shade at him. And it does sort of coincide, 100%. Fair or not fair, with happened in Utah, right? Where like this sort of Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, which I think that's been answered of how well they both performed in the playoffs. But still, this is, to your point, this is Joker's great. Whether it's third best player of all time or 7th or 13th when it's all said and done, he's devouring the best defensive player on the earth, not because the defensive player is overrated, but because Joker is underrated despite 3 MVPs.
Because he's better than everybody else. I mean, like, name anybody, for all the people who are like, love to hate on Rudy Gobert, and I get it. But like, for the people who are like, he's a fake DPOY, name anybody, dead or alive. Take anybody that you want and tell me who's stopping Joker, and I'll shut up.
That's true.
Like, it doesn't exist.